If you would please stand by for this important message from the Combine.
Welcome, Combine citizens, to the greatest podcast in the universe, Breenwave Radio. You are joined, as always, by me, Dr. Wallace Breen, the most based Giga-Chad man in all of existence, a visionary, a protector, a handsome intellectual force of nature. My mission? To keep you safe from yourselves, to keep you compliant, to protect you from headcrabs, misguided rebels, and crowbar-wielding mutant lunatics. So sit back, relax, and let the soothing sound of my devilish good speech ease you into acceptance. Because whether you like it or not, you will embrace your destiny, combining with the ultimate intelligence, one enlightening episode at a time. Well, folks, it's official. We got a doctor. Breen podcast before we got GTA 6. Truly a sign of the times. And what an honor it is to launch the only Combine-approved podcast. Originally, we planned to have Joe Rogan host, but unfortunately, he wouldn't stop talking about DMT, so we had to remove him.
DMT.
Now, before we dive into today's very educational discussion, I'd like to thank the creators and content I used for the intro. All sources are properly credited in the links below, so be sure to like and subscribe to those folks, even though some of them have very strong opinions about yours truly. Quick disclaimer, this is a non-profit parody that uses AI voices and some AI-generated content. This video is purely for fun and is nowhere near popular enough for me to actually make any money. Trust me, if I was in this for profit, I would have sold my soul to Raid Shadow Legends years ago. And with that, let's get into our regularly scheduled broadcast. My dear citizens, it is with a heavy heart and an even heavier sense of disappointment that I must announce the official banning of Warhammer 40,000. Yes, I know. This is a devastating blow to the remnants of humanity that still clung to their overpriced figurines and endless debates about which fictional superhuman in giant armor would win in a fight. But the Combine has ruled, and their logic is, as always, irrefutable. There are over 350 books in this series. That is simply not within reason for any citizen to complete. At this point, even the Emperor himself would tap out and say, "You know what? I think I'll just die for real this time." But let's be honest with ourselves. This series is ridiculous. It is marketed as the most grim, serious, and thought-provoking sci-fi war universe of all time, yet it contains space orcs that speak in British pub accents. The central premise is essentially, what if fascism was somehow both bad and awesome at the same time? And let's not forget, it was designed for sexually frustrated men in their 30s who needed a socially acceptable reason to spend their entire paycheck on tiny plastic warriors instead of seeking therapy. Additionally, the Combine has determined that Warhammer 40K is an economic parasite. The sheer amount of money citizens pour into these figurine sets could have gone towards more productive endeavors, such as purchasing paste rations or paying taxes to the Universal Union. Instead, entire salaries are sacrificed to Games Workshop, a company so diabolical it makes the Imperium of Man look like a well-run democracy. And let's face it, they haven't made a good Warhammer product in years. However, do not despair entirely. The Combine has conducted an extensive review of hundreds of thousands of hours of Warhammer content, and we have deemed exactly one series worthy of survival. If the Emperor had a text-to-speech device. Yes, citizens, it has been spared, not out of mercy, but because even the Combine acknowledges that it is the only Warhammer-related media that does not require you to spend an entire GDP's worth of money to enjoy.
We decided to split the Imperial Fist Legion into several chapters, such as the Crimson Fist, the Black Templars, and the modern Imperial Fist chapter.
I am surprised one of those do not have the word fists in their name.
That is because they are absolute lunatics.
Hut, oh well.
Now, before I conclude, I also wish to dispel an absolutely false rumor. The reason for this ban has nothing to do with the fact that Stephen managed to defeat me in a tabletop match using the Tau Empire. This is not an act of personal revenge. The Tau are, of course, a garbage faction that embodies everything wrong with the game, and only a coward would enjoy them. But that is completely unrelated to today's ruling. Now, return to your duties, and remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only compliance. I think today's segment went well. Go ahead and use those repurposed videos as we take a break from our scheduled podcast. You know, the ones we stole off the internet before the Combine deleted them.
They're kinda dumb and cringy. Are you sure you want to?
They aren't exactly animation studios anymore, so we use what we have.
Alright, I say,
One thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard.
Right now, at this very moment, as you watch these light rays striking the magnified eye, similar tiny beams of light are entering your own eyes.
They ought to make the day the time changes, the first day of summer.
Good. Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
A lot of good the extra daylight does us. Now, we've still got a 3-hour drive back. We're not going to be home until after midnight.
Well, if it really bugged you, Johnny, you...
Today on the subject, Dr. Atom. Now, observing the professor himself, we can see that his structure resembles, in many ways, something almost as vast as the atom is small.
Attention, City 18 citizens. This is a mandatory emergency broadcast. A biological containment failure has been detected. Unauthorized parasitic entities have breached security perimeters. Current threat assessment indicates widespread infestation of Class X parasitic organisms, commonly designated as head crabs, across multiple urban sectors. Reports confirm the presence of hostile necrotic entities in civilian and industrial zones. Biological compromise is imminent. Direct exposure will result in irreversible neural hijacking, loss of motor function, and complete assimilation into necrotic behavior patterns. Mandatory compliance directives. 1. Remain indoors. Secure all entry points. Shelter in place is compulsory until decontamination forces arrive. 2. Do not attempt to engage infected individuals. They are no longer citizens. Prior identity is irrelevant. Compassion is non-compliance. 3. Avoid unsecured structures, basements, and subterranean networks. Headcrab migration patterns indicate high probability of ambush in confined spaces. 4. Do not consume unregulated food or water. Possible contamination risk remains high due to organic infiltration of supply chains. 5. Report all biological hazards immediately. Failure to report an infestation is classified treason. Additional security protocols have been enacted. Metropolis and Overwatch forces have been granted full autonomous engagement agreements. Any movement outside of designated safe zones will be interpreted as non-compliance. Medical services are suspended. Containment is the priority. Unauthorized attempts to exit City 18 will result in immediate pacification. No evacuations will be granted. The city is now under full quarantine. Do not attempt to leave. There is no outside assistance. Compliance is survival. This message will repeat. Overwatch out.
Well, this is Stephen the Doctor's personal advisor, and it seems he's really mad after the ass-kicking I gave him, using the Weeaboo Space Commies Empire. I'll try to convince him to make the product legal again, but until then, please give the show a like and subscribe. I know that we're using force and violence to make you subscribe, but that's besides the point. So rather, if you just visiting or traveling to parts unknown, welcome to the greatest podcast ever. And be on the lookout for a violent psychopath with a crowbar.